Okay, so Crowdfunder is an opportunity that has been brought about by two organizations working together. And I'm pleased to welcome Sue from Crowdfunder UK, and also representing the Solent Local Enterprise Partnership, Kate's here with us as well. And this working together has resulted in a couple of things. One, and I'm going to keep it really simple because Sue is the expert. One is the opportunity to crowdfund where you may not have done so before, and for there to be no fees involved with that. And secondly, Solent LEP have kindly set aside already £600,000, possibly more, probably more, if necessary more, to do some supportive funding around that. A couple of people here have done this. I've done it for both of my businesses. Sam, who's right there with the nice white background, he's had a go. Tracy's had a go at New Forest Shortbread. There are a number of us who are willing to share our experience and help you through it. But all I would say is give it a go. Sue, over to you. And if you would like to just tell us why we ought to have a think about it, and then anything from Kate as well as we go through.
Absolutely. Thanks, Matthew. And thanks everyone for your time. So I'm Sue Johnston. I'm Partnerships Manager here at Crowdfunder. And in a pre-COVID world, crowdfunder.co.uk, the company that I work for, offers a platform that lets people crowdfund in exchange for rewards. So typically we work with businesses, community groups, charities, and we try and change the conversation from I need money to I need money, and if you give me something, here's what you'll get in return. So that does mean that we felt perfectly positioned to help small businesses in the face of COVID say to your customers and supporters, you can't come now because the business is closed, but we absolutely need cash and sight of cash if we're going to survive this storm and also position ourselves for recovery. So the platform is free, and the idea is you put up a page and you approach first your own networks, your own customers, your own supporters, and you offer them your products. So in a normal world, you would probably take a few weeks to think about whether that was something you were going to do, and you'd explore it and you'd research it and you'd have a think about spending some time putting that page together. The timeframes are much, much tighter than that. And also, most of the people that we're working with are understandably anxious because of COVID-19. So the platform is designed to be as easy as possible. And Matthew's been through it a couple of times now and has already given us some feedback. You'll see things get better as we iron out some of the kinks that people who are doing it in a hurry are facing. But the concept is you get your page up and running. So you go to, I'll send you the link. But if you Google Crowdfund Solent, you'll be taken through to the site fairly quickly. You press Get Started, and the site will take you through a series of questions. Who are you? Tell us a bit about you. Tell us, show us some pictures. And what kinds of things do you normally sell? And what I was saying to Matthew before the call is that there's a couple of key steps about how to make crowdfunding work. And then there's a couple of key steps about how do you get match funding from Solent. So let me start back to front and talk about the match funding from Solent. So clearly the local authorities and the local enterprise partnerships and all the business growth groups who've been working hard for years to make your area and other areas like it a good place for business are all completely focused on trying to rescue your businesses, but also trying to help you position for recovery. So there's two parts of it. So against that background, the LEP have been very quick, the quickest in the country to say absolutely, if people can crowdfund, then we'll match either with a match of 2,000 or up to 5,000. And the reason that it's a good idea for them is because if you can demonstrate that you've got customers and you've got supporters, then actually it's a lower risk, isn't it? That you're supporting businesses who've got good trading history or have got good businesses. The thing that stopped them is COVID. So if you can help businesses like that, then when we come through this storm, those are exactly the kinds of businesses that you need to thrive. And when you look at the Solent as an area, things like the visitor economy and the hardest hit section of the economy has been the business to consumer part. So it's easier for those businesses to think about what they can sell in advance. So what you do is you go to crowdfunder.co.uk or you Google Crowdfund Solent, you press get started, we'll take you through the site. If you can hit 25% of your target, and we'll help you decide what your target should be, then and that will prompt you to put in an application to the LEP. We'll process that, they'll process that. They may ask some clarifying questions around it, and that their match fund will appear as a match, as a pledge on your crowdfunder. Then you have to hit your target, and then the money comes to you. We say within 7 days. The reality is that it comes through to your bank accounts within 2 or 3. So you may crowdfund for 2 or 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks, and then it'll take you a few days to for the money to hit your bank accounts. In order to make it work, and again, in a normal world, we would run you through webinars and we'd run you through workshops and all of that. You have precious little time, we know that. Those things do exist. There are guides, there are webinars, there are Facebook groups, and you've already got some good advice coming through from the LEP and Matthew. But there are a couple of key elements to making a good crowdfunder work. And most of that is actually very common sense human stuff, in that if you think about a crowdfunder on any platform that you may have supported over the years, whether that's Just Giving or GoFundMe or any of them, there's loads, aren't there, even Facebook. If you saw a crowdfunder that was sitting at 0 and you didn't know the owner of that page, you wouldn't be first to pledge. But if you looked at a crowdfunder that looked as if it had a good amount of momentum and it had supporters, you're much more likely to pledge. And if you want evidence of that, Captain Tom wandering up and down his garden has raised millions, and everyone seems to want to pledge to that one crowdfunder. They follow the crowd. So when you start your own crowdfunder, it's really important to know where your first wave of support is going to come from. And that's why one of the benefits is the action of crowdfunding will cause you to reconnect with your existing customers and your existing supporters. And what you're saying to them is, I'm going to crowdfund to get myself through this. You can buy product from me now. I'll deliver it when I can, but I need the cash now. And if you can build a group of people that are willing to do that, then that's a real encouragement to other people who might not know you quite so well, and to the other people that would match fund you. I hope that bit makes sense. And I would really encourage you to do that as a pen and paper and a network map. Just map out as many groups as you can think of, your customers, your supporters, anyone who cares about your business surviving. And customers and supporters are the obvious ones, but if you think about your own supplier base, your suppliers care about you surviving, your communities care about you surviving, your high streets, your bid districts, anybody who cares about you being there when we come through this. And then you think about how you contact them. And sometimes that's a telephone call, sometimes it's an email, sometimes it's a Facebook message. What I would encourage you not to do is put up a page and just expect people to come. You do need to push it out, you do need to communicate it. But if you know who you're trying to target, then you can go round that list and think about a way to reach them. And in terms of what you offer, if you have a product or a service that's easy to express and that's what people know you for. So in Matthew's case, clearly a stay at the Thatched Cottage or an experience at Escape Yachting. If you've got a product or a service, then that's what you're selling forward. It's easier for companies that have that, but it's absolutely used by other groups as well. And if you want advice, there are 100 of you across the Solent who've started in the last couple of weeks, and we're hoping to ramp that up. But there are thousands across the country. So you can just go to crowdfunder.co.uk and search, have a look at somebody that's got a business like yours and see what they're offering. Bit of a monologue. Some of you have tried it. Some of you have hit a couple of snags already and been helped through. Does anybody have any questions based on that, or should I keep going?
Any initial questions? Thank you. Jackie again. Oh, just
Oh,
unmute. That's it.
Jackie, not Lulu.
Yes,
Got
yeah.
Got it.
You said that you would help people. I just say I've got my crowdfunding page all ready to go, and I was
Great.
waiting till today because I thought there might be some things I might want to change before I launch it. You said you would help people to decide what their target was.
Yep.
I didn't see any of that as I went through the process, and also I'm not actually sure if I haven't done it through Crowdfund Solent, I don't think. So how do I check whether I've connected with you? I think I have.
Have you done it on Crowdfunder?
I have.
Crowdfunder.co.uk. Great, that's fine.
Yeah.
Then we will spot your postcode. So we'll bring you into the Solent cohort based on your postcode.
Okay.
Don't worry about that. If you, I'm sure Vicky will back me up on this with a link, but if you go to crowdfunder.co.uk/guides,
yeah,
you'll find 3 really simple guides: planning, creating, and running your project. Just about every question and answer is in those 3 guides, and one of them is about hitting a target. But I can tell you very simply that what you need to think about is how much money do you need to survive this next period? And given that we don't know how long the period is, that's a bit of a tough question, isn't it? So the other way of answering it is what's achievable. And what we know from history, normal history, is that about 1 in 20 people who sees your page will pledge. And the average pledge across our whole site is £50. So if you do that network map, you figure out how many people you can reach yourself before you cast your net wider, total up that number, and figure out that if you can get them all to your site, if 1 in 20 pledge and they pledge £50, then that's how much you should be able to raise pretty easily. Once you hit your target with Crowdfunder, you can do what's called a stretch target. And Matthew, you did that, didn't you?
That's right. Yeah. So we set originally 2,000, then 4,000, and then the stretch target it was 10,000. But there was a question there. Maybe Kate as well could help on this, and I wonder if those who had a go already. We originally said 2,000 because we were hoping for the 2,000 from Solent Let, which is very kind. But of course, that was my original thinking: 2,000 from Crowdfunder and 2,000 there. But then we were told that needs to be 4 to get 2, because you can only get a maximum of 50%. It's not totally clear on the paperwork and the guides. This business of, and of course somewhere it says pound for pound, and that's slightly misleading. So if I raise 4 million, I don't think Solent Left are going to give me 4 million, sadly. And she's shaking her head. But have you thought about how you can get it? I think 1 or 2 people have not been sure at this thing about setting a target.
Well, I set it at 2,000 because, like you, I thought it was if you raise 2,000, they would match that 2,000. So that's not correct.
No. Shall I do that up now and just straighten that one out? Because you're not the only ones who found this, so we are looking to try and make that clearer. And Sue and I were in a call with some other folk yesterday talking about exactly these sorts of issues and trying to make some of the messages clearer. So that will be coming. The target you set with Crowdfunder is your total target. Of that, Solent LEP can fund up to 50%. Bear in mind there are certain limits to that. You're right, we're not going to give you £4 million if that's what you raise. So for micro businesses, so those with fewer than 10 employees, we will fund up to £2,000. That's the maximum we'd give you. So your total could be 4,000 or more. And for small businesses, it would be up to £5,000. So just to be clear, we'll do 50% of your target up to those limits.
Kate, could I ask this? Sorry, and then I'll come back to Jackie. Do you have to get your target 100%? Because somewhere it says you do, and other places it's not so clear.
Yes, you have to get your target. You don't. I don't know about the stretch target. I'll let Sue answer that one. But the original target that you set, in order to get, my understanding is in order to get any of the funds, not just from Solent LEP, but the other crowdfunders as well, you have to hit that original target. But Sue may be in a better position to answer that one.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and the reason for that rationale is I mean, clearly, Solent were very quick to do this, but it doesn't take away from the fact that they're using public money to do it. So there are all sorts of caveats and due diligence that they have to jump through in order to justify that they're using this money wisely. And one of the questions is that the businesses that they're giving the money to, is that a sensible risk? Are they giving money to businesses that actually do stand a good chance of making it through? It's the wrong environment to talk about good business versus bad business, but one of the ways to mitigate the risk that money goes to businesses that aren't going to survive is to focus on those who really do have the support of their customers and who have raised enough money to carry themselves through the next period, whatever that period is. Once you've hit your target, then typically what you would do is choose a time frame, and then once you've hit your target, you can publish a stretch target, and then no, you're not playing it. This is not a game. You keep whatever you raise, and then when you hit your date, you have two choices. You can either leave the page up there, what we call an always on, or you can close it and walk away. What you'll find with crowdfunding is it works really well if you spend time on it. And again, that's something that's in really short supply at the minute, isn't it? So what we're finding is that, some people are absolutely happy to keep going, really happy to have the page up there. There's no point leaving it up there if you're not going to do anything with it. And others have said, no, it's fine. I've raised what I need. I'll close the page and we just leave it up there historically.
Yeah, thank you. There are a couple of people, I think, with more questions. Any specifics? Remember, Sue and Kate are happy to deal with that with you immediately afterwards. But I think, Tracy, you're waving, yeah?
There is a lot of work involved in getting it together. A couple of things that weren't clear. One was that the LEP doesn't look at your project until you've hit 25%. So originally I thought because I'd been accepted and I'd got my crowdfunding up and running, that LEP was on board with me. So if you are doing it, be aware that it's all really helpful and it's all a really good thing. It is a lot of work, but the LEP won't apparently look at funding at your £2,000 or £5,000 until you've hit the 25%. Then they'll look at it and decide whether they approve your project or not. The other thing that nobody's mentioned is that you can apply for all or nothing. So you can apply to keep what you raise. So you'll probably put me right on this. Your choice is to keep what you raise or give back. If you don't hit your target, give everybody their money back. So if you have a specific target, you have that choice. And I was advised there are very good coaches you can talk to at the crowdfunding. They're available to talk to you and help you through things you've got difficulty with. But I was advised that it was better to go for all or nothing. And the other thing was a video. That the crowdfunding will, statistically apparently, people are more likely to interact with a project that's got a video on it. They're all doable and they're all things that we're creative people, we've got our own businesses, we've got a passion, you can do it. You just have to put the time in it. And
is your crowdfunder live?
Yes.
It is.
It certainly is.
What's it called?
It's New Forest Shortbread.
Great. Okay. And I
forward New Forest Shortbread. Yeah. So mine was a simple thing. I needed to raise funds to complete a rebranding project. So I offered my shortbread in new boxes to buy forward. Very simple, very isolated. Everybody's got a different product, but you do need to put some imagination into what you're offering. The more things you offer, the more options you give, the better.
Really good advice. And you get much better advice from other project owners than you ever do from people like me. But that said, I have run a few crowdfunding projects. Let me just clarify some of those points, because that's really, really useful feedback. The video, in the perfect world, absolutely, you need a video. And because what you're trying to do is you're trying to talk person to person over a screen, aren't you? You're trying to talk to the person that hits your page and get them to pledge some money. And it's just helpful to use whatever channel you can to let people look you in the whites of your eyes and see if they believe your story, kind of thing. You're all really, really stretched for time. Don't let the lack of a video stop you. It's better to be live with a picture than it is to not be live because you haven't got a video. So don't let that slow you down. You can always swap in a video. If you put up a page, get live, and then you get a video, great, add it. And you can add pictures. You can change your page anytime you like. The only thing you can't change is something that you said you were going to sell after you've got a pledge on it. That makes sense too, doesn't it? In terms of all or nothing or keep what you raise, again, in those guides, you'll be guided through how to make that choice. What we know statistically is that the all or nothing projects tend to be more successful. And it's because you're completely focused on it. If your target's £4,000 and you've made 3.5, you are not going to go to bed until you've got the rest of the pledges. And you'll be saying to people, come on, I'm nearly there. I just need a few more. So you'll be really pushing. And that's why they're more successful. But again, if you think about this current environment and you think about the cash that you need, is it better for you to have a couple of grand in your pocket and be sure that it's coming than be heading for a higher target? You're the best judge for that. And it depends on your stress levels. It depends on the time that you've got. We can guide you through statistically what the differences are, but nothing is going to take the place of your own insight and your own view of just how much pressure you can take and how much time you've got for this thing. So we're seeing plenty of keep what you raises, and you know, just make a choice. If you need help making that choice, then we'll guide you through it.
Great, thanks, Sue. Jackie, we'll come back to you, and then maybe Sam, if you've got any observations from your experience. Jackie, you had your hand up.
Yeah, could I just clarify what's a micro business and what's a small business? Because being in the tourist industry, my staff levels vary depending on what time of year it is. So I straddle, sometimes I'm below 10, sometimes I'm above 10.
Thanks. Kate, are you able to?
Yeah, absolutely. So the easiest measure is by employee numbers. So you're right, it's kind of below 10 or above 10. But if you need to look at more detail, there's a link which I'll share in just a moment, takes you to some guidance which has turnover thresholds and that sort of thing as well. So you can have a look at that and decide where you sit then. I'll put that in the chat if that's okay.
Thank you. And before we come to Sam, just a couple of questions popping up in the chat, maybe Kate. Solent Lep's remit, there's a question about Ringwood, which has got a BH24 postcode, and also I think Lulu's just over, Lily, someone is just over the border as well in Christchurch. What's yours? Is there any way of finding out which one you should be going for?
Yeah, really, really simple. If your business pays business rates, if they pay them to New Forest District Council, then you're in the area. If you're based at home and you pay council tax to New Forest, then you're in the area.
Thank you very much for that one. And what type of business would you not support?
We don't have a definitive list of that at all. I think we're fairly open-minded, actually. We're not prioritising any particular sector. We're trying to make this as open as we can. So I think the advice is have a look, see if it's suitable for you. Have a chat with the Crowdfunder team. Have a chat with our Growth Hub team as well. They're directing a lot of people to Crowdfunder or direct them to other places if that's not suitable. But it is suitable for most.
Great, thank you. David Lawrence's office is burning down, so we hope that that's all safe according to his chat. Sam, I'm just going to come to you in a second, but there was one more thing from, sorry, it was Tilly Lou saying, yeah, can we support each other's and so on? Yeah, please do. What I'm trying to do is on the, there are a couple of ways you can find them. You can go on crowdfunder.co.uk and search for them geographically, but I'm going to list them on our weekly email. And I got a few of them on, 2 of them were mine, but I mean, I'll put on any of the, if you are running one, send me the link and I'll put them on there every week. And look, you know, every little helps, every pound, £10, whatever. And what's also interesting, we can all be very English and British about it, but we were overwhelmed by the fact that our vast majority are simply donations. These aren't people buying vouchers or wanting something for it. They're just people giving us money, 150 the other day. Here you are, have it. We wouldn't expect that, want that, ask for that. But this is the, if you like, this is what happens with crowdfunding. And so make it about yourself, make people want to love you, like you, and want to give money to you. Sam, everyone loves you and likes you on yours?
I was amazed.
Sorry. Sam Sutton there?
you, Matthew.
Yeah, go,
yeah,
and then
that's it.
Afterwards.
So, I mean, we learned quite a lot from doing this. So I think we did it quite early on. Almost as soon as we found out about it, I was like, yeah, okay, let's shoot the video, fill it all in. And what we learned, first of all, and obviously information sort of coming to light now that we could have done with knowing, apart from, you know, like the thresholds and the percentages, because we set quite high targets. Had I known that we needed to get them and achieve them rather than being aspirational, then I probably would have gone a little bit lower with those. But I believe one of my colleagues spoke to one of the team yesterday and we've kind of sorted that out. So the big takeaways for me was, originally we were looking for businesses to pledge. We were looking for sort of high ticket supports, but actually what's turned out to be much more likely to get exactly what you've said, Matthew, is people just putting in 10, 20 pounds as donations rather than paying for tickets, which is, you know, quite counterintuitive really. You know, we're really blessed to have people that have sort of put that money in. I think one of the most successful local campaigns was Farmer Brian from Longdown Activity Farm. He did a really good, very close and personal video, which helped. And obviously it's animals. And I think that the two things together led to a phenomenal campaign. So for us, we've actually changed some things around and actually featured the kind of smaller donations and smaller pay it forwards at the top, and then actually scale down the other way, just so people kind of feel a bit more achievable. The other thing we've done in the last few days to try and keep momentum is actually use people's feedback and comments as social signals that we then put onto social media. So we've shown what people have said about us and use that in our Facebook marketing and in our kind of LinkedIn stuff. Does that kind of make sense? So people can see other people supporting us. And we found that gave us an extra bit of momentum really, apart from just, you know, re-emailing our lists and things like that. So I guess at the moment we're sort of 32% towards our £5,000 target. I guess we've fallen the threshold as well, because as somebody else said, we have 15, 20 staff in the summer and less in the winter. But I guess that's a conversation with Solent LEP now that we're well over 25%. I think we can start having that conversation. But yeah, I'm happy to answer questions as well. But that's an overview.
Can I come back on that, Matthew? So,
Please, yeah.
so you really, again, really great insight from somebody who's been there. There's a couple of things about that. It is, you know, I've said a couple of times, isn't it? You can't do this thing without effort. It does take effort, it does take time, and now is not the best time to ask you for both. However, there are real advantages to crowdfunding in its own right. So if it weren't for COVID, I would still be saying to you, if you've got a business, crowdfund, because what you're really doing is running a mini digital marketing campaign. You're identifying your customers, you're reaching out to them, you're getting some feedback, you're using all the different channels. And what we know, and I've got a bucket load of data to prove this, is that people who run a crowdfunder will tell you afterwards that their business benefited from it with loads of great reasons, and I can send you the data, not just the money. And that's about impact, and it's about content, and it's about social, and it's about all of that. It's not counterintuitive at all, though, that people give you money because they love your businesses, and we all know the mess that we're all in. It's not of our own doing, but there's something peculiarly cultural about us as a nation, however mixed we are, that if I say to you, if I take you down the pub and say, look, I really need the money, can you give us 50 quid? That's a really uncomfortable thing to say. And it makes you uneasy and me uneasy. But if I say to you, look, I'm funding my business. If you pledge 50 quid on it, you're going to get 75 quid's worth of gear. What do you reckon? That's a completely different conversation. And will you tell other people about it? And then what you'll do is you'll come to my page and you'll make the pledge and you'll say, Dad, don't worry about the beer, or don't worry about the short one. Don't worry about it. You have it on me. I was there once. That's what we do. We're human beings. That's how we behave. And what the Crowdfunder page does is it gives you the ability to make that ask without having the awkward face-to-face conversation about it.
Great, thanks, Sue. Any other, Tracy, did you have another comment, question? Just unmute.
I'm looking forward to talking to LEP more. Yeah. I really missed the point of how much LEP can get involved to support us on the crowdfunding. I thought it was all being driven by crowdfunding, but then that probably was just my misunderstanding. I really got very focused on it, and it became a bit obsessive about things to get it up and running, and it's gone very well so far. So
but we've shared with you the contact details, so yeah, do pick it up with them. My experience, and I'm sure it's everyone's experience, they want to help, and if you have got the target wrong, my crowdfunder coach sorted it out, and so on. So, you know,
as you know, Matthew, I had a bit of a meltdown yesterday about it all, but I'm a lot better today.
You're back together again now. We don't want shortbread all over the place. So,
no.
Absolutely. Great, thank you.
I'm interested though. I love shortbread. I'll go and have a look.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got about 10 minutes left. Any other questions or other general observations from anyone?
I've got a few points that I picked up I'd like to raise, if I may. In no particular order, they're just things I sort of scribbled as we've gone through. I think there are some bits that we've noticed that I just want to highlight to people as we've been going through the process with other applicants. When you go through the process and you start your crowdfunding page, I'm kind of reiterating something that Sue said already here. Please make sure that when the time is right for you, you do click live, make the page live. I think a couple of people have been caught out by not doing that and thinking it's up and running when it isn't. And once you've made your page live and you're up and running, you do have to separately apply through Crowdfunder for the Solent LEP grant. You're not sort of automatically there. Crowdfunder will automatically try and find people who haven't cottoned onto that already and say, do you know you can get some money from Solent LEP? So they are looking for you as well, but there is a process to go through. So don't think that just because you set up a page, you're automatically on our radar. You just need to make sure that box is ticked. Going back to the conversation earlier about donations as opposed to people buying products and services, I think there have been one or two occasions where crowdfunders who've come on the system have taken a bit of heat from other people saying, I can't believe you're asking for donations at this time, people should be funding the NHS or whatever. Actually, it's everyone's decision how they spend their money, so I wouldn't want people to be put off by that sort of thing. Actually, people will decide whether they want to buy a product or service in advance, or if they want to give that £10 as a donation. And yeah, you don't be shy of asking. As Sue's just said, you're not face to face in a pub. You've got that bit of separation, so we can keep our stiff British upper lip. But don't be afraid of it. And just when you're filling in the application for us, please make it really clear what the impact of COVID-19 has been on your business and why you're asking for crowdfunding altogether, and what difference that crowdfunding is going to make. It sounds really basic, but again, actually during the application process, sometimes that doesn't come out, and that's the sort of thing that we really need to know. And then I think one last thing I wanted to clear up, which relates to a question earlier on in the chat, was about those targets and sort of thresholds. We will fund 50%, but in order to kind of trigger us saying that, you do have to reach that 25% threshold. If we award you that money, we'll give you 50%, so you're now up to 75%, and then you need to crowdfund that remaining 25%. So that's how it works. If you do fill in the application for the Solent LEP funding prior to getting that 25% trigger point, we will try to look at it sooner rather than later. I can't guarantee that because we're a small team and we've got a lot on our plate at the moment, not just through this, but through other work as well. But I promise you, we're trying to speed through things as much as we can. So bear with us. But yeah, at that 25% funding trigger point is quite key, really.
Great, thanks very much, Kate. Just a quick question come in again. Is Dorset LEP doing something similar?
Yeah, I'm afraid chat's beyond me. I can't. I'm too old to be able to chat and do this. So I've had some conversations with Dorset. There's nothing there at the minute, but I'm talking to the Dorset Growth Hub, and what I would say is ask them for it. If you've got contacts at the LEP, if you ask and I ask, it's totally free. We are not charging for this, and we are also paying the transaction fees. So let me explain what that means. which when somebody makes a pledge, the banks will still charge them 1.5% or something plus 25p per transaction, whatever it is. We're covering that. When people come and pledge on your project, as they check out, they'll see an extra box from us that says every penny that you spend on this will go to Tracy's Shortbread or Matthew's Yachting. If you'd like to tip Crowdfunder, here's a separate box. You absolutely don't have to put anything in that box, so people can check out quite happily without giving us a penny. And we're clearly keeping a very tight eye on that because we're paying all the transaction fees. But you are the people that we work with in a normal world. If you all go to the wall, we won't have a business either. And we think that we're perfectly positioned to help you. So the platform is totally free to you, and it's totally free to the Solent LEP, and all our coaches and all our advice and all of that is all totally free. You have my word on that.
Yeah, no, appreciate that, Sue. And Sue and Kate, you know, your organisation's making a huge difference. Perhaps if I could just suggest, there are a couple of other organisations within organisations on the call today. Anthony and Carol from Go New Forest, hospitality businesses. I'm sure, Carol, I can see you. Oh, Anthony, yeah, I can see you as well. You know, if there's any way I can put you in touch with each other and maybe you can do something for your members on this. And same with Claire from New Forest Mark as well. You know, even if it's just some slides, information, contact, who to contact, let's get this out there so people can find out about it.
We'll send it out tomorrow, Matthew.
Great, thank you.
And I'm really happy to help. I'm partnerships manager, so I'm supposed to work with partners, and I'm really happy to share my email address. I'm Sue. I'm SU. There's never an E in my name. I'm Sue at crowdfunder.co.uk. I don't have the capacity to help every single project, and I'm a bit slow on email sometimes, but I'm really happy to help and direct you and signpost you to the right people if it's not me.
Thank you. So we'll encourage Go New Forest, New Forest Mark, any other groups, we'll get it out to you. If you need to contact Solent LEP, please do. It's appeared in the chat from Kate, so who you can contact. And you've got our contact email address, contact@nfbp.org.uk. We're in the last 20 seconds. You know, it's great to have 45 people on the call. Sorry we can't get everyone sort of doing the usual thing, going around the room and being friendly and all of that. But hopefully this shows that there are people out there. If you're stuck there working on your own and all of that, I'm not trying to give a government press briefing sermon like they seem to do every day, but just remember there are other people around, and we'll support each other in the best way we can. So thank you to Sam for looking after communications last week. Thank you to Kate and to Sue for looking after the Crowdfunder opportunity this week. Next week, fresh from her appearance on Dragon's Den, Kate Bell from Zip Us In will be with us. And I'm sure you are not going to be anything like those horrible dragons who didn't give her any money, but she's doing really well despite that. And she's going to share with us ways of getting your business online and selling online and all of that, because, you know, we can't give out flyers and everything else at the moment, but selling online is really important. Communications last week, crowdfunding this week, and then some help with online sales next week. So do join us if you can. Keep in touch. If you don't get the weekly email, sign up for that. Thank you to everyone, and I'll let Vicky sign us off. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.